This is the view from breakfast in Jasper. Right across the street from the railway station. Here's the Jasper train station. And again, the beautiful hills right behind it. This was where I had breakfast just now, across the street from the train station. And this is to the west from in front of the train station. Snow. Probably not the last I'll see today. One of the old boys. There it is from front. And this is the modern way to travel. Via does the Thompson and Fraser Canyons during the night, but Rocky Mountain Tours does it during the day. It costs more. Lo and behold, what do we find right next door? And we also happen to have a couple of Via cars sitting here. Again, this is the AT&T office from the front. I'd like to have an office with a view like this every morning. Here's old 6015 again. And the view behind her. Guess who came for breakfast? That one's phony, I think. But that one's... Amazing. Right off the main street. Can't say you weren't warned. There's a bank that blends in very nicely. Again, a little panoramic view from where I'm standing. By the way, here's the downside of having your wildlife walking down Main Street. And now that the sun is out, those look even more majestic. Nice one. I love the no parking sign. Almost forgot, this is Jasper. Here's another last minute look at the town. Here's another look at the hills.
Drop some items off, and possibly we may have some guests joining us as well, but basically I'm only aware of the drop-off at this point. Following that, restop at the Saskatchewan crossing. That should put us into Lake Louise at approximately 5 o'clock. Our Wapiti, there's a couple more up on the bank. Advise me that there's a bear, let's hope. And if there is, the faces that are considerably more, about 12,500 feet on average for the vast majority. Although there are a few that are just pushing the 12 or slightly over 12,000 feet, just under 13, visible to us. Athabasca Pass, which was discovered in 1811 by David Thompson, and basically from 1811 for close to 3/4 of a century, it basically served as the primary and only. The Athabasca Pass was both to the right, and on to the right, on top of the mountain plateaus, a pyramid-like looking mountain top. Mount Edith prior to 1926 was known under the name Entrance of the Great Journey, or words to that effect. So, La Montagne de la Grande Traverse prior to 1926. However, following the heroic war efforts of a British war nurse, Edith Cavell, who during the First World War worked behind the enemy coach, we have Mount Kirkesland. We'll be bypassing its base for over the next couple of kilometers, and we'll be able to get a viewing of it. Another view of Mount Edith Cavell. During the earlier days, utilized as the indicator as to the entrance of the Athabasca Pass for all the westbound explorers and expeditions. The falls where the mighty Athabasca River has basically over as many hundreds of thousands of years of carrying debris and just plain erosive powers of water, and it's debris that it carried. Here we are once again on Kirkesland, as I mentioned, on the left. And Kirkesland was the native word for an animal that To the right we have Mount Freyette, and coming up the peaks that we are visioning here to slightly above the 1 o'clock position of the coach. We have the Brussels Peaks. These are just several of the mountain peaks that have been individually named, and I just might mention that as we are traveling today, only approximately 35% of the mountain peaks and glaciers and unnamed or unclaimed mountain peaks. Of course, the adventurous can possibly dictate that we want to gain immortality. All we'd have to do is pack a light lunch and go to a crew to synthesize that particular claim, and if they find it to be accurate and not previously claimed. The mountain peak just here on the right, that's Mount Christie. That was level to approximately 4,500 feet or 1,400 meters on average. And that is where the vast majority of your vegetational growth, just under 8,000 feet, you are going to the subalpine. And as you work However, this is one of the passageways that they would gain entry here into the heart of the Rockies on their migratory lifestyles at various intervals. That is the Stuckfield Glacier. Stuckfield Glacier sits on the side of Mount Kitchener, and it was named in honor of one of its co-founders, Hugh Stuckfield, who, along with his colleagues, Herman Woolley and Norm Cooley in 1898, that's 100 years ago, this past August, when Hugh Stuckfield, along with his colleagues Herman Woolley and Norm Cooley, discovered the Columbia icefields, and as a result, this particular glacier was named in honor of Hugh Stuckfield, one of its co-founders of the Columbia icefields. Both on the left-hand side, folks. And here we are, mountain sheep on the left-hand side as well. This is the one that there are daily shuttles from the Icefield Center by a special designed coach to give viewers an experience of the collection of snow and ice. However, if you look at the toe section where the Athabasca Glacier currently sits, at the turn of this century it stretched across this valley over this highway, the parking lot on the left, and rested right in the base of Mount Wilcox on the glacier on the side of Mount Athabasca. Now folks, our stop is only going to be about a minute or less. I just have to drop a couple of packages off and then we're on our way. So I would appreciate enjoy the alpine regions of the Canadian Rockies. Of course, we're...
Just get it, man.
Weeks in Jasper.
Well,
It was as a result of a big work project by the comparison to the original challenge that it posed with. And in a moment, you look to your left and right hand side as we go over the bridge. You look down and see the big canyon or gully where the Nigel Creek is flowing down to the valley floor, and those waters will ultimately processing future food supplies, and then after several weeks of this type of existence, they would leave, and in turn leaving behind them, throughout the valley here, all of the bones and skeletons of the animals that they were successful in hunting. And this was the site that befell them, that evolved to serve the interest and ever-increasing demands during that era of the early exploration throughout the Rockies. However, from those early days of walking and advanced walking,
There's my bus. Going to Calgary. I'll be getting off in Banff.
Wilcox
North Saskatchewan River.
is Mount Kefron, or Chevron as some folks may enunciate it. However, initially Mount Kefron here was known as Pyramid Mountain. During the latter part of the 1850s, when James Hector favored lake for the migrating waterfowl lake as a resting or staging point, and again in the fall, following the nesting period when they were returning to the winter home for waterfowl lake as a resting point. However, in more recent years, for some unknown reason, this lake has been avoided by the Snowbird Glacier, as it sits here on the right-hand side, on the side of Mount Addison. When Snowbird Glacier was first discovered, it emulated the profile as if it were a giant bird. that was flying along and had flown right into the side of Mount Patterson with its wing spread across the face of the mountain, its beak and tail section protruding upward and downward. However, even today, on a much smaller profile, it still emulates the vision as if it were each bird even today, but only on a much smaller scale. Snowbird Glacier on the side of Mount, largest collection of snow and ice within the Canadian Rockies, and that is referred to as the 1Oct ice fields. And emanating from it here, folks, on the right-hand side, you'll be able to start catching a glimpse of the first of the three glaciers emanating from the 1Oct ice fields, the second largest collection of snow and ice in the Canadian Rockies, and that is Pito Glacier. And it is the meltwaters primarily from the Bow Glacier as well as the mountain peaks in this area that in turn have created the small but magnificent Bow Lake here at its base. And Bow Lake here in turn is the origin and the main source of the Bow River, which in turn will now be paralleling our route all the way to Lake Louise, Banff, and right on through to Calgary. Journey, they will ultimately end up in Canada's. Folks, coming up on the right-hand side, you'll get a view of the third glacier emanating from the 1Oct ice fields, and it is the famous Crowfoot Glacier. And you'll notice emanating from the base of Crowfoot Glacier along the walls of Crowfoot Mountain, you'll be able to view three protrusions, or toes as they are referred to more commonly. And each of these protrusions emulate one of the three toes that make up a crow's foot. And as a result of this is how the glacier got its name on the side of Crowfoot Mountain. Thailand. The beehives were named in honor of Victoria herself. Also, on the opposite, or the east side of the mountain. And while in attempting to climb Mount Abbott, this is the Deer Lodge on the right, and coming up directly in front of the coach is the chateau itself, the Chateau Lake Louise.
Well, this is Chateau St. Louis. Louise. Glacier right behind. This is the youth hostel in Banff. Looks like back there where that bus is, that's where the youth hostel is. Now tell me, is this a view or is this a view? Banff. Oh, it's the sound of a train approaching. Slowly heading into Banff, downtown, from the south, I believe. Another view of downtown. Here's the public library. And this is what the town hall looks like. And of course, always the mountains. That's the old CP station. And this is the view that the people got when they got off the train. It's here in front of me, that's the bus depot.